Local authorities have key challenges in meeting net zero targets. This means looking at every viable tool and energy source to meet this target. Hydrogen isn't theoretical in Caerphilly. It's part of the real decision being made on heating, transport, public infrastructure. What matters is what works for the residents: cost, reliability, jobs, community benefits. Hydrogen has potential, but evidence is needed along with partners and policy that actually supports this delivery. I'm joined by Anna Lewis, Decarbonisation Project Manager at Caerphilly County Borough Council, to explore one council's approach to meeting net zero targets and where hydrogen can support this target. Welcome, Anna, and thank you for coming to chat with me today.
Thank you.
So, Anna, tell me a little bit about your role at Caerphilly and why you're looking at net zero targets. What have you got to do there in Caerphilly?
Yeah. So my role is Decarbonisation Project Manager. I look at large-scale decarbonisation projects and planning how we're going to achieve what we need to achieve to meet our net zero goals. In 2019, Caerphilly County Borough Council declared a climate emergency and created an action plan, prospectus and decarbonisation strategy that would achieve net zero by 2030. Hydrogen is one of the things that we need to look at as part of that work.
And why hydrogen? What does that bring for you at Caerphilly?
Yeah, so green energy, whether it be for properties, whether it be for transport, whether it be for industry, anything like that, is not necessarily one size fits all approach. You would see different energy for different uses and things like that. And in Caerphilly, we understand that, for example, for our larger fleet, we would potentially need hydrogen to power those vehicles. And this is just an option for us to be able to look at.
Why not electricity for, electric vehicles?
Yeah, and again, we would look at that also. It's not that we wouldn't look at it, but we need to compare both and to understand which is better and which is more economical, which would provide jobs for the communities that we serve, and and to be the best option for that actual vehicle on the road as well, for example.
Is there a reason why hydrogen might work better than electric for you in Caerphilly?
Yeah, so there's been a number of trials throughout the South Wales valleys. We have very hilly terrain, we have quite long routes, and we have, considerable journeys that we have to make. And hydrogen, we feel confident would be able to meet that demand that we have. Electric, potentially not so much on longer, hillier routes, especially in colder weather and things like that. So,
okay, yeah, that sounds interesting. And is it all about transport, or are there other areas that you're looking?
We obviously, if we are looking at it for transport and things like that, we need to look at production and whether that would be an option for us. And also then around industry, and we do have targets around supporting the wider transition to net zero by 2050 within the borough as well, and also for homes as well. Whilst this is not a clear policy yet or anything, it could be in the future. So it's something that needs to be considered. So
you're actually thinking about producing your own hydrogen as a council?
We would look at all options. It's we haven't agreed to do that at present, but we are investigating every option.
And am I right in thinking you have a test facility that you're producing hydrogen at, or?
No, not at present. We do have a facility that we are looking at what the options are around water use for hydrogen. It's really important for us as a council to be looking at ethical water sources and things like that. Whether we produce our own or not, that water could still be used for hydrogen, and we are doing a lot of research with the University of South Wales, and we are looking at what that water would look like, and we are also speaking to people, to private enterprise and things like that around electrolysis and new and upcoming technology in that area as well. So
okay, I mean that's one of those things, isn't it? You think, oh well, we'll use hydrogen, but actually there's a lot more to it, and it's like making sure that the water that you're using is renewable as well. Perhaps it's from wastewater, or I think you've got an example of where you're looking at water you could use that was going into the sewage system. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So we have a reed bed facility that currently cleans leachate from an old disused tip facility, civic amenity, and that water is currently being cleaned and put back into a sewer then. Once water is dirty to that extent, it could never be used for drinking water, and rightly so. But we have been having, Dr. Stephen Carr from the University of South Wales has been supporting me to have a look at what that could look like and whether that water would be suitable for use within hydrogen and electrolysis and things like that.
Excellent. And so why use researchers? I mean, surely there's a lot of consultants that could help you in this space.
Yeah. And I do use consultants as well. We've been working with some consultants currently, and they've been excellent and supported us really, really well. But that doesn't take away from that research element that Dr. Stephen Carr and University of South Wales have been able to support with. We're not researchers in the same way in the council. We are there to serve the public, and we're experts in public consultation and things like that. But we are not academic researchers in the same way. And the value that he has brought to that has been absolutely amazing, that we wouldn't have been able to do without him, and his support that he's been able to offer to other departments through his funding, through GW Shift as well, has been, fantastic.
Yeah, so he's doing a project for you, I know, under GW Shift, which, I'm the deputy director for. So, of course, I'm really pleased that we were able to help, communities in this way to look at energy sources. But so what's Stephen actually doing, and what's he brought to the project for you there, looking at hydrogen as an energy source?
Yeah, so he's been able to support me with project planning. Whilst I'm a project manager, it's always the same until you've actually done a project in a similar way. It's usually after a project that you're then able to plan for the next one. When something is this new to you, you wouldn't know how to plan for it. You wouldn't understand what you need to do in the first place. And Steve has been there to be able to support me with that. He's been able to speak to different departments, planning, procurement, health and safety, all different departments, and is able to speak to anybody that really wants to hear more about it, and to be able to give people confidence in that understanding on what it is that we're trying to achieve. So it's honestly, it's been absolutely amazing.
And so, how has that gone down when he's talking to people about that? Because hydrogen can be a bit of a Marmite thing sometimes. Some people think it shouldn't be here and we shouldn't be using it. Others think it is, the next best thing since sliced bread when it comes to energy sources. How's that been viewed by people when they've heard from Stephen and what his knowledge is?
Yeah. So we have actually done some consultation as well with the public on hydrogen as well as part of Innovate UK funding that we had received as well. And when we spoke to people, when you first mentioned hydrogen, they say they don't know anything about it. There was very few people that knew anything about it, or certainly what it could be used for. I am able to explain it a little bit, but I can't explain it in the same way that Steve can, and the same way that he can simplify it, because it is a complex thing to understand, and how that could impact people both negatively and positively, and being able to understand where the risks lay and things like that. Very often when you speak to members of the public, they do tend to reference an hydrogen bomb. And Steve is able to discuss that with them and discuss what hydrogen looks like and what those safety features are, and I suppose the risks around normal fuel as well, whether it be gas in the homes or whether it be, petrol or diesel and things like that. They all have risks associated with them.
Yeah.
And it's and trying to explain to people that as long as things are managed in the way that they should be and regulated in the way that they should be, potentially it should be safe. There shouldn't be any problem with using it in the same way diesel or or petrol is.
Like we all go to the petrol station every day. I mean, that's probably one of the most flammable liquids that we could have, and we're using it all the time. So it's just giving people the confidence and understanding, and it's great that Steve's been able to do that.
Yeah, and he's been able to do it in a way that is factual. He never ever tries to change anybody's opinion, no more than what I do. He just wants to be able to present the information, tell people the pros and the cons, and for them to be able to make a decision themselves. And we are very much the same way as a council. Whilst it has the potential to be a really positive thing, if we could produce and use hydrogen, it's not for us to decide. It is for the public to decide really what they want to see and things like that. And it's got to be of benefit to the public financially as well. We are experiencing tough times at the moment.
Yeah, very.
And hydrogen should be used as an opportunity to be able to reduce costs of services, improve services, generate income for services and things like that. It shouldn't be there that it costs more for the public and it costs the council more to do. So and this is the type of thing again that Steve from the university is supporting with at the moment, is understanding what those financials would look like, where grant funding is available and things like that, to be able to move everything forward and to be able to understand whether this is something we could do or not, So
yeah, absolutely, it's understanding the economics of it. I mean, people think that hydrogen is very expensive, and it is at the moment because there's not that supply. But as you were saying, if you can produce it yourselves, or with another organisation in conjunction with them, it brings the cost down and can make it a very competitive fuel to be used in the right spaces, while still helping the climate. Getting to those net zero targets. A bit difficult at the moment, isn't it? Where we've got net zero targets, but we've also got quite a hard economy at the moment. So I guess part of it must be jobs as well that you're looking at.
Yeah, I think that's our challenge as a council, is obviously the financial climate, not just for the people within the borough who we know are struggling, but our ability to be able to support those through this difficult time when we are ourselves experiencing those financial challenges as well. And it's the reason why we need to make the most of grant funding and any partnership opportunities that we can. But yeah, it would be really, really good if we were able to meet net zero and support the public at the same time. That is our goal after all.
It's got to be the goal,
Yeah,
hasn't it?
it has.
Absolutely. So on that, the skills agenda, obviously if you're going to be producing hydrogen or any energy source, you need to have the right skills. Caerphilly comes from the mining history. That's where a lot of jobs were. How are you dealing with the skills agenda, and what do you need for that?
Yeah. It's, and I have sat in rooms with academics, private business, councils, and at the moment I'm hearing everybody say, so councils will say, we haven't got the money or the skills to be able to provide this training. The private sector then, the employers and things like that will say, I can't train people because if I train people, somebody else will steal them then. And then I've got to train more people and I'm just stuck in a vicious cycle and I haven't got the money to be able to do that either. And then colleges and universities and places like that are saying, we will do it, but we haven't got the money to be able to provide that. So somebody has to pay for it. And it seems that, again, it's just going around in this big circle where everybody's struggling to do something, usually because of the finances and what have you. But we are in a good position in South Wales in as much as we do have the background, like I say, even though it was a long time ago now, really, with the coal mining and the coal industry, but we still are potentially engineers, people like that, and people that have got really, really good skills and skills around IT and things like that as well, which is also needed. And those people could transfer their skills into these things. And if we get our education right as well, then we will have more and more people being able to step into this industry. I think what's really important as well is bridging that gap in knowledge, because at present, when I'm speaking to people, I'm finding that their knowledge gap is that big that they don't feel they could bridge the skills gap because they don't know enough about it in general, just general decarbonisation or anything like that. So until we can build that knowledge, bridge that knowledge gap, we are never ever going to bridge the skills gap. So we need to build on that knowledge prior to building on the skills, really.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I mean, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this podcast series, because hopefully it'll get a little wider into the market, trying to make it very accessible for people so that they can understand a little bit about what this hydrogen is, should it be used, where did it come from, etc. We've also got a webinar series for GW Shift as well, which is, again, available through the website, but really accessible for people, even though it's academics delivering that. They have done it in a way, just like you said, Steve does, in a way that's understandable for people, which is so essential.
It is.
And, do you think universities should really be stepping up and training people for the future in this space?
I do. I think that, people always say, it starts in schools. But I think job centres, places like that where people are unemployed, that would be able to go on courses, fill those gaps in our job market and things, and give them the opportunity to be able to learn new things. And you can start off small and, like I say, build that knowledge first.
So is it youngsters or is it
I think it's adults as well. I really, really do. You know, we've got electricians or people who want to be electricians, that you need electricians for hydrogen. You need, you need engineers. You need people who deal with water. Any industry like that in reality could be working in the hydrogen space, but I don't think people necessarily realize it. So, and I, like you say, the more we talk about it and the more people realize that it's not as terrifying as it seems, we can do this all together. So.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I think that there's the skills that are needed, and it's retraining from jobs for some people, and it's for youngsters and people that are looking to careers, understanding that they can have careers in the energy sector and the renewable energy sector, the good energy, the clean energy. So tell me a little bit about how you're going to deliver on these challenges that you have in net zero. Whether it's hydrogen or any energy source, is there partners that you're working with or partners that you want to be working with in the future?
So obviously we've been working with Dr. Stephen Carr from the University of South Wales. We will continue to work with Steve and any other university that we can as well. All different people bring all different academic perspectives and support in different areas. We've been working with people that are undergoing research and development as well. And we've been working with a consultancy that are able to link us with international organisations as well. Especially around the water use and things like that. They're a small company, but they have been absolutely amazing as well and got excellent skills in this area. We actually will continue to work with other councils as well. Cardiff Capital Region, Welsh Government, people like that as well. They are really, really important for us to be able to work with, and to be able to move this along in South Wales in particular, but throughout the whole of Wales. And then we would like to be able to work more with commercial partners. They bring an aspect that we don't have, as I keep saying. We are here for public services, and that is what is important to us. And those commercial partners would be able to teach us something new, and we would be able to offer them something that, in the form of land. Like I say, we're great with consultation. We know the public in our area, and we can support in those areas that they probably wouldn't have that skill set then as well. But it would be very, very important for us to be able to work with ethical partners. We want people that really care about social value and social responsibility. We don't want to be tick boxing social responsibility to say, oh yes, we've done this. We want to be able to do something that is of value to the community, is to be able to provide jobs, and to be able to rebuild what once the coal industry was in South Wales. The Caerphilly Borough was built on energy for transport and for homes. And again, we could do this again and be famous for it and be, producing the best people to do this work. Albeit we could be saving the planet and making life better for people at the same time. So.
That's great, isn't it? To bring the two together, but finding those partners that, obviously industry looks at profit, of course. But finding those that really want to deliver with you and work with you, that sounds really important message. And is where companies are beginning to look at that a lot more these days, the social value, which is just as important as making those profits. But I'd love to see Caerphilly back on the map for energy and producing energy. So let's hope that happens. So you mentioned working with local authorities there, Anna.
Yeah.
I think Caerphilly seems quite forward thinking in this, maybe because that's where your history comes from of energy sources. So what's your message to other local authorities who are thinking about this? Because I know they're really challenged with these net zero targets. What would you give them as a message?
My message to those, I think, would be that it is difficult, but just because it's difficult doesn't mean to say that it can't be done. Just because we haven't got necessarily the skill set in-house, don't mean to say that we can't partner and be able to do that work together. And to just have a look at it and have a go. That's all we are doing, is that we're having a look and having a go at trying to see what could be possible and what couldn't. You know, it's something that is important to do, and it's something that we all need to look at, and we're happy to work with anybody with it as well. I've been taking advice from other councils that have already done these things, and I've been speaking to councils that are very early on their journey as well, to be able to support them as best I can. We're all in this together. Yeah. I think that councils are in a unique position around energy security and things like that. I think that if you're looking for energy security, your local authorities are probably one of the best people to deliver green energy in reality. So I think we're in a good position.
Yeah, so not coal mining, but perhaps green hydrogen, green electricity. It's all part of the mix, which sounds great. But of course, you can't do this, and you mentioned it, without government support. You're working with the Welsh Government, and I know they do have a lot of incentives and programs, grant programs around this. But what do you feel you need from government now to be able to deliver on your net zero targets that you have?
From Welsh, in all honesty, Welsh Government have been very, very supportive of what we've been trying to do. We've received funding from them to be able to move things forward, and to support with research, especially, in particular around our vehicles now as well, and the water usage. The thing that we'd like going forward is obviously that continued support for funding, because as a council we can't fund it, and those decisions, I suppose, around policy and things, and to make that a little bit wider, to open our market up a little bit more. I understand that is still being investigated. Hydrogen is around the use for heat for homes, and that industrial use.
Hydrogen boilers are here, but we don't have the policy. We don't have the. They're not regulated for use in homes at the moment, and we need to trial that, because it's not necessarily just heat pumps. Heat pumps come with their own. They can be liked, but they take up space, and so perhaps hydrogen isn't another way to do that. And you could be producing hydrogen, locally, that serves a whole community of houses.
And that is what is, again, I find important for energy security, is local energy for local use in reality, because if, for example, that supply was disrupted, there would be other local supplies elsewhere, so there's security in that way as well. Around those policies is really important, and to make that market, I think if you want to reduce the cost of something, if you open that market, the the supply then is lower than the demand sometimes, and then you will get a cheaper price for what for your energy and things. So that is what we need to do.
We're kind of going back to it's a bit like local shopping. It's local energy sources, which, if we're looking at renewable, is so easy for us to achieve. Obviously, hydrogen's produced from renewable electricity anyway. But having those local sources, as you say, brings that energy security. I think that's a really good message. But we need the policies to be able to deliver on that, which I think is key. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a fascinating conversation. And really, I think I wouldn't have known before just how much there is to look at from a local authority perspective, and how that can really support your infrastructure, jobs, growth in a local economy. So it's been fascinating. Thank you so much for coming in, Anna, coming from coming from Caerphilly to join me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.